Hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be in time and space. Kinneas here with another noob flight. And this flight today is going to be Colorado Springs, which is my hometown. And we'll be flying out of Meadow Lake Airport. Oops. Meadow Lake Airport, which is just a little northeast of the Colorado Springs Municipal Airport, KCOS. So we just kind of sit in this little corner. They got this little notch out of the municipal airport flight range, and K-Fly just sits right up here. All right. So just looking around, we're flying the Icon A5 this afternoon. They definitely have the ground covering right. We have a lot of scrubby stuff out here on the front range. And as we look directly west, unmistakably, Pikes Peak. This isn't the plane to really possibly take that high up, but we'll see how high we can get. Let's see if we can do once or twice around Pikes Peak. So one of the beautiful things, the first thing you notice about the Icon is how unplane-like it looks. It looks like a car. It feels like a car. It flies like a car. So if you're brand new to flying, I think you're going to love this plane the most as a first timer because it feels accessible. You know, you're not overwhelmed with all the traditional stuff going on in a traditional cockpit, like the carbon fiber stylings. But basically, you have your airspeed right here, standard altimeter, your altitude right here. It takes a while to build up some speed. We're doing all right, though. All right, your fuel level, your oil pressure, oil temperature, water temperature, and your RPMs. She doesn't need a lot of help. I'm not even touching the stick right at the moment. I'm just moving the mouse around, and up she goes by herself. We'll raise the landing gear. Nice little knob there. And when we get a little higher, we'll raise the flaps. This little light sport plane can also land on water. And we have a little rudder right here. Our communication radios, again, we've got a Garmin G1000, which is really nice. You can do a lot with it. We're not going to really get into that. Today's more of a sightseeing tour. Throttle controls, so not much to it. Not a whole lot to it. I think on your joystick we have some trim controls. Those just control little tiny tabs on the wings and rudder surfaces to make fine adjustments. All right, let's really get to some sightseeing right now as we look out towards Colorado Springs. Now, one of the things that my mother has said, looking at other flight simulators, she'll come over when she visits and wants to know what I'm doing. I have shown her how Colorado Springs look in Flight Simulator X and in X-Plane, even with add-ons and such. And she's always commented, those just don't look like my mountains. And I can't wait to show her this, because those are absolutely her mountains now. That is what I see every single day. And to me, they're perfect. To me, they're absolutely perfect. Okay, now that we're up in the air, we don't have to gun the engine so hard. And we'll just make this a nice little cruise. We add a little nose trim and keep our nose up as we drop speed. So as we look down, every house is there. Every building is there. Sometimes they're not exactly perfect. Sometimes some are a little bit bigger and smaller, and the AutoGen will do the best it can. But for the most part, it's darn near perfect. And any place that is really well mapped in Bing, Microsoft's Bing, like Google Maps, the Bing Maps, any place that's really well mapped in Bing will look really good. So if your town is, chances are it's going to look fantastic. Again, it's not 100%, but nobody's ever done anything like this, really. Without special add-ons. You couldn't get something like this right out of the box. So they've done a fantastic job, and this is just baby steps. These are just the first baby steps, and if you don't have a point of reference, if you haven't been flying different simulator games since the 1980s, it's hard to really understand what a huge jump this is. So we could only dream about something like this back then, and it's been like pulling teeth, waiting all of these years for Moore's law to mean something, and compute power to be powerful enough to do something like this and bring all of this technology together to bring us something like this for a flight simulator. Now, you may notice that some of the dashboard shading elements are not perfect. This isn't a really high-end machine. This is a medium-end machine with a medium-end processor and a medium-end video card, both AMD. And I've gone into the settings a little bit and turned some things a little bit lower and raised some things a little bit higher to try to balance out, so I could give you a little bit nicer looking terrain as opposed to maybe some of the lighting. Although the lighting is really kind of what brings scenes alive. I've also turned down shadows and maybe some bloom effects, and turned down reflectivity, anything to give the computer a little bit more power so I can put that into the landscape. So again, if you're not familiar with Colorado Springs, all I can say is, yep, this looks good. This looks right. If you are familiar with Colorado Springs, doesn't that look amazing? As we get closer to the mountains over there, actually, I'm going to go ahead and start gunning it a little bit. I think we're going to go ahead and climb, because it's going to take a long time to get to height to try to circle Pikes Peak and give you a good look. Because when you live here, this is the only view you really ever get to see. You don't really get to spend a whole lot of time over 14,000 feet looking around Pikes Peak. And again, a lifetime here, it all kind of ends up flattening out in your mind like a 2D set, because this is all you ever see, just this one side. So it's quite marvelous when you get up higher and you can look at things from a different perspective. I'm going to drop the nose a little bit and see if we can get a little bit of speed on. So out that way would be heading towards Kansas, and the Kansas border isn't that far away. If we're flying probably an hour or so, and we can hit Kansas. So again, I put more of the emphasis on the terrain. Not a whole lot of people get to look at the terrain from up here, but again, if you live here, this kind of stuff is important. All these little features and how well it does. And again, this isn't even on the highest possible settings. So if you have a really good machine, you're going to be so happy. If you have one of those 2070s, 2080s, yeah, you're going to be so happy with the performance that you get. I know some guys out there are like, yep, I can run everything on Ultra, no problem. Well, I can't just yet. I do look forward to it. Even the surface features on Pikes Peak, as we're looking this far out, beautiful. Beautiful. Here comes Cheyenne Mountain into view in the corner there. Unmistakably, the markings, let me get my little mouse here and see if you can see my mouse moving around. Yeah, I think you can. These markings, unmistakable on the face of Cheyenne Mountain. Over here, there is NORAD. So if you watch Stargate, the Stargate television show, that's Cheyenne Mountain, and they usually do a shot here. Sometimes I think they do a shot over there. But that's NORAD. Here comes the Colorado Springs Municipal Airport. I've done the best I could with the manual caching to get some of these areas as high resolution as I can get them without causing any major lag for us, so that we can get through this and not have too many problems. I want you to see it running smooth. Just beyond that, if you know Colorado Springs, Powers is right over here beyond the airport, and this is looking south towards Widefield, Security and Widefield. We'll do a flyby that way. I live about 3 or 4 minutes from the airport. Probably gonna blow our engine watch. No, we're doing all right. It's just that this Icon has got such a small little engine. She revs so high. I've turned the audio way down too, so hopefully it's not drowning me out. But this engine just revs so high. Beyond Security, Widefield in front of us. As we move out a little bit further, Butts, just like it sounds, Butts, Butts Air Force Base is out there in the distance. Over here, we're going to have Fort Carson, and we'll swing by that over there. I think they call that Fountain Lake. And then you've got the Fountain School over here. It's a very, very, very... it's a private school where a lot of famous actors and actresses have sent their children to train, like the Fondas. The Fondas, I believe, a lot of them went to this school over here. I landed this in an earlier video attempt. I landed the Icon in this body of water right here, and as I made my way up onto the shore, she got stuck in the mud, and I had to end the video. I was not able to get enough traction or speed coming out of the water to make my way up on the land and take off again. And I was stuck right there. I could just spin around in a circle, and I couldn't make my way back to the water. I couldn't make my way any further onto the land. I'm zoomed in. So this is the main road coming out of the airport. Right in front of me down here. There's the parking. I know this thing has external view. Let me see if I can toggle the external view. Let's pause. There we are. Runway 35 right. You have 17 left up there. You've got this small little runway that runs like that, and then 35 left, 17 right. So normally you come in from here and take this little road around up into the parking here. It's not that big. Now when you come out of here, I wish that message would go away. When you leave here at this intersection right here, that's what I mean by saying I live rather close. Take a left here, come down to this street here, and then go down a couple of blocks. So we'll just fly over that and get my... So it's a very quaint little part of town, and it's called Security, which is nice. Nice, lovely name, right? You will be able to find your house. Again, the better Bing mapped your city is, you will be able to find your house. Now my house is definitely tucked in beneath the trees here. So you make your way down this road, and then you turn right here, and you're going to see this school right here. Well, across the street from the school, well, right behind the school, I guess you'd say, a family member's house, and then right here, this second white roof right here, that's my house. See what I mean? It's covered in, surrounded by trees, so you can't see it that well. But believe me, the lower we are to the ground, so right over here, it's there. They did a beautiful job of everything. This is Highway 85, 87, the Venatucci farms. If you grew up here, you used to do your pumpkin. Remember they would send you on buses to go get your pumpkins in October? They'd send you over here to the Venatucci farms. You turn this way a little bit. Bring the nose up, turn. This would be Academy Boulevard connecting to I-25 over here. Here's the I-25 and Academy Boulevard. So now, over here, as we're passing, there's the Pikes Peak Community College. We're crossing over Fort Carson Military Base, heading towards Butts Air Force Base. And this is something I rarely ever get to see. And that is a good look at the military base. Hidden behind some little foothills, and you rarely ever get to see all of this stuff here, their facilities. But all of this area right here, this is all military base. It's a humongous military base. And then beyond it, again, just past this, we're heading towards Butts. Does that little sign say? Yeah, see, right there. Butts Airfield. Fort Carson Airfield. I keep wanting to try the hat switch to get my view around, and in this particular view, it doesn't acknowledge the hat switch, so I have to reach down and jostle the mouse around a little bit. So apologies if I seem like I'm having the twitches. I kind of am, as I have to let go and grab the mouse and move things around. Again, now we head towards Cheyenne Mountain. It's perfect. The coloring, very rarely do they ever get the color of our mountains in the Front Range right, but they nailed it. Did they not? They nailed it. Even in the day, how everything looks purple around here, the mountains look purple. The Purple Mountains Majesty, better believe it. They don't have the towers yet on top of Pikes Peak. They don't have the towers yet on top of Fort Carson. I did it again. Should probably script this out. They don't have the towers on top of Cheyenne Mountain, the NORAD towers and the other radio towers. So normally over here to our left here, on the top of this mountain, which is Cheyenne Mountain, lots of radio towers. Right now we're heading towards NORAD. Again, if you're a Stargate fan, this is it, baby. This is where the Stargate's at. Somebody was arrested in the last, I want to say the last 5-6 years. Arrested for trying to break into NORAD, and they were yelling, I need to speak to the Stargate team. Normally, I don't think you're allowed to fly anywhere near here. I think they'll shoot you out of the sky. So we're very fortunate the things that we get to see in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I'm loving this so much. And other episodes I'm going to do after Colorado Springs, I'm going to do Castle Rock, which a lot of us are from, a lot of my friends. I'm going to pause, see if I can pause this here. Okay. All right. The shot that they give you for the Stargate TV show is usually shooting right in there, the gates. See how it's tucked in there? And it's tough for me to kind of fly over there without ramming into the mountain. Let's see if I can pause this again. Got to become more comfortable with the mappings here. But they do their shooting right in here. And that may not be 100% accurate, but that's pretty darn good. Look how beautiful. Looks like a little fortress tower, doesn't it, there? So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, inside of that mountain, that's where the Stargate's at. All right. Get back to unpause. I'm not used to flying it on the outside, but it definitely helps for sightseeing. If I could only get my hat to work while we're flying over here. We're coming up on a very, very, very rich part of town called the Broadmoor. And, you know, as it usually with other places, the higher up the mountain you go, the wealthier the people. And that's no exception here in Colorado Springs. So you have these humongous million dollar homes that are up here, and coming up just off our starboard side, well, down below and to our left, I think that's the zoo, the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. And I think this is the Broadmoor Golf Course. I'm going to pause it as we get closer to the Broadmoor. The people that founded Colorado Springs in the 1800s, very, very, very rich. And they had famous architects and famous painters design this whole area and design the hotel that's down there. And the end scene of Austin Powers, the very first movie, takes place here, and I believe it's shot from back here, looking at the lake. So the camera would have been like on this side, shooting over here. But Spencer Penrose is responsible for having the Broadmoor commissioned, and again brought in famous artists from the time like Maxfield Parrish, and his wife was super into the arts. So, you know, and I don't remember the name of the architect that they brought in to design the Broadmoor, but it's beautiful. Probably get away with dropping us a little bit, but it's all there. Broadmoor Hotel. My grandmother used to work over here in the International Center. We'll do a run through of downtown Colorado Springs, zip back around, look at the Garden of the Gods, then try to make our way up and around Pikes Peak. So that's Memorial Park over here. So this would be Union Boulevard. I hope. Yeah. I think I got that right. I keep pressing D. It's throwing this message out there. All right. We have a very distinctive looking power plant. Right on this curve here. Not in this curve. The curve ahead at 12 o'clock right now. Across from that, the Humane Society. We don't have a lot of tall buildings in Colorado Springs. Our tallest buildings, well, that's Memorial Lake down over there, I think. Again, we don't have too many tall buildings. Our tallest buildings are right there. Not very tall at all. The Antlers Hotel is down there. There's our power plant. Giant coal deposits. There's a giant tree growing out of it. They're still working on the trees, and they've apologized. And there's a lot of work to still do on the trees. And they're talking about putting in different subspecies and species of trees, and it's hard doing it all. Just off the port, the left wingtip, passing right now, the Humane Society. And that's where my wife, Christina, works. Just gorgeous, though. I mean, that's perfect. Looking at that view every day for years and years and years. And everything about it, especially those markings, again, on the sides of the faces. It's all perfect. All the colorization, whatever. Going over here, this area up here, they strip mined for years and years. They call this the scar. These areas, the scars on the side of the mountain. They've been trying to plant trees and stuff and make up for their scar. Looking out back towards Colorado Springs. Again, the power plant. There's the big buildings downtown. And again, as you go east, it's just flat towards Kansas, and it just keeps staying flat for pretty much all the way to the ocean, really. Nothing like this, though. And there is the Garden of the Gods, and maybe we're high enough that we can start making our way. I don't know if this plane will do it or not. We'll give it a shot. But that's awful high to get up there with this little power. So the Garden of the Gods is a series of rock formations that's really unique. They just stand straight up like stegosaurus spines. And it's outdoors people in general, they love going here, and I'm circling that now with my mouse. But all these rock formations just jutting straight up out of the ground like little spines. And again, there's a problem with the trees and the overgrowth on the sides of them. There really are no trees on the sides and the tops of these things. All the trees stop at the bases, which makes them a little bit more unusual looking. But they're beautiful. They nailed it. And they're just like that, too. They're just like really thin shards sticking straight up out of the ground. Again, like little stegosaurus spines. And we're getting some height. Again, right over here, off the starboard side, Captain, the scar. So as we start going higher and higher up, this is where it gets interesting because you see things from way back, and it over time again it becomes a 2D kind of effect in your head, and you rarely get to see things from this high up, these perspectives. So it starts getting really interesting. Let's see how much altitude. So we're 9,000, almost 9,000 feet. Let's try to hold it like right. Let's try to hold 60. We'll try to hold 60. It's knots. It's not miles, but just for our purposes, 60, 65 miles an hour. I think it's closer to 70 and not 70 or 80. As we get higher, Pikes Peak seems to flatten out a little bit from this perspective. I do believe that there's camera adjustments you can make to that fixes camera distortion. If you've ever gone up to Woodland Park, the road snakes through this valley in between these two peaks, and you can see it coming up ahead. Santa's Workshop is an amusement park, and that is located along this route as well. How Santa's Workshop ended up in Colorado, I don't know, but it's here. So Woodland Park just ahead. Used to come up this way and do a lot of fishing and camping when I was a little kid. So I thank my father for all those good times, going out and taking us out and taking us up to the mountains. It is a real joy to drive up this road and take some of these side roads and get higher up so you can see Pikes Peak from different perspectives. And it's fantastic. And it's just as fantastic in here. They have a international hill climb that they do up this mountain, the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, and people come from all over the world to do a race up this mountain. And I've watched videos, they put little cameras in the cars now, and it's insane. I can't understand people that have reflexes that fast. And there have been people that have driven off the side of that mountain up ahead. And I'm not talking just down below us. I mean, straight ahead and off the sides of some of those sharpest little peaks up there. People have driven off of those, going incredible speeds. Did you ever watch Top Gear, the British television show? Clarkson and the boys. They've been up there. So we're still climbing. We're 11,000 feet. I don't have the water on as nicely as it could look, but it's beautiful. We do have a lot of trees. Not a whole lot of place to do any bush flying right up in here. I think the timberline's about 13,000 feet. See if we can swing around this side over here. Try to come around it from the other side. Still need to gain we have to get over 14,000 feet. I'm pushing our angle. Gotta be careful about that. see if we can look back down over Colorado Springs, way out there now. I'm really excited about this. Has live weather, and I know that they've had live weather for a while, but it's being handled by a company called Meteo Blue, and they're doing amazing stuff, bringing live weather to Flight Simulator 2020. And in the past, our local news person, I've had a lot of fun trying to take photographs of what it looks like inside the simulator compared to what she's showing us on her satellite maps, and showing her how well the simulator shows us weather, rain, snow, and they've been really good, and I can't wait. This only came out yesterday. I can't wait to show her what weather looks like in here. But right now we're set for really clear skies, and they've nailed the colors. It's a very, very blue sky here. And off in the distance, it makes everything look very, very pale white. Views of Pikes Peak you never see. Yeah, rarely do you get to see that. And I was surprised at how actually flat it is behind the mountain. Are we going to have enough to get up there? See these little roads heading up here? Look how they zigzag back and forth. There's I want to say it's like a little rest stop, gift shop at the top. But look, they've even got all the little tiny roads. Imagine trying to drive up this thing at 100 miles an hour. Yeah, there are videos of people doing it, so out there. And I don't want to crash here. My father sold his Piper Cherokee to this Yahoo gentleman in the 80s, and he crashed it into Pikes Peak. You have to spend a lot of They want you to spend a lot of time learning mountain flying, because mountains have their own weather. Again, what a fantastic view of Pikes Peak as we come around this side. Just, it's so different. So, and again, look at this little plateau here, how it flattens out. And then it gets all badland territory out this way. Now, I don't want to spend too much time going out that way. I really wanted to focus this on Colorado Springs, but Pikes Peak is such a big part of it. So I want to get around Pikes Peak and head back towards Colorado Springs. And then we'll call this particular tour done. And I will gear up for my next one. And it's going to be traveling up I-25 to Castle Rock and then to Denver. Taking a look at Denver. We're going to be heading to, I think they're calling it Invesco Field now, or they were calling it Sports Authority. Either way, the Denver Broncos Stadium. We're going to be looking at the Denver Broncos Stadium. Coors Field, if you're into baseball. Take a real good look at Coors Field. I know a lot of folks that might be interested in that. But yeah, I was very surprised the first time I flew around here. I couldn't believe how flat, and I can't believe how nobody's really come up this way or developed higher up the mountain up in here. So we're almost nearing 14,000 feet. So we should be good. I'm not pushing her too hard, just trying to keep the nose up enough. Stop with the messages already. But yeah, all these little areas that have all these little tiny lakes all trapped up in here. Beautiful. And this side looks all rough over here to our left. And I don't believe that's snow. I just think that's the color of the surfaces. Normally it is kind of snow covered. But as we move over, going out a little bit further, look how lush and green it still is up here. And then these pockets of water trapped up here at the tops of the mountains. And I mentioned there was a little structure, the building or a gift shop or, I don't know, a place where you get cocoa up on top of Pikes Peak. And, we're stalling. And you can start making that building out right now. So this is the view of Colorado Springs that few people get to see. Look at how high up we are. It's wonderful. There's a commercial now out there that's advertising coming to Colorado. And that's the little girl who finds, I guess, her mother's pictures in one of her old boxes. And it said, "A view from on top of the world." And the little girl's trying to figure out where it is and where it is. And she ends up getting her dad to take her up to the top of Pikes Peak. And it really is kind of a view from on top of the world. It's not the highest mountain in the United States. But again, everything pretty much from here on out, as you head out towards the East Coast, it's just flat. And that's a long way to go. We're just flat, boring. Okay, so I don't know how well they did. I'd have to go look at photographs of the structures on top of Pikes Peak. But you've got some structure there. Last I knew there was only one structure there, so they've got multiple ones up here now. But there's the view from the top of the world. We started out over here. I think there's the Colorado Springs Airport going this way. Either way, our route took us all the way over here. Air Force Academy, or not Air Force Academy, the Fort Carson and Butts, Stargate, Cheyenne Mountain, came over here and inched our way up through Woodland Park, back up this way. So we'll head back down to Colorado Springs and do a landing and call this one done. There are so many other neat little features wherever you live and wherever I live. There's a lot of neat features here that I could just spend hours flying around showing you. Oh, well, there's this and then this building and there's look at this mall. We have a really unique shaped mall called the Citadel, and that's in there. And so you'll be able to do the same thing. You know what? Looks like our gear. I thought I raised our gear. Let's go back to the cockpit. You see our wheels are down? I hadn't noticed that until right now. So let's get back into the cockpit and have a look. Yeah, it says our gear's down. Duh. That would have helped us flying higher, easier. Above 10,000 feet, you're supposed to have oxygen. This is not a pressurized airplane. So we might be passing out and turning blue in the real world if we were doing this in one of these. I know that my dad used to take us around flying, and I don't think they followed any rules back in the early 70s. They could do anything they wanted back in the 70s. They were real men that could explain my mental facilities these days is, not enough oxygen. Flying around with Dad he's flying between here and Wyoming and stuff. You have to stay really high. So I never remember any oxygen. I can tell you that much. And we don't need all this power now either. I feel very fortunate to live in a very, very beautiful place in the world. There's a lot other more, every place is beautiful. There's a lot of places that are beautiful. And I'm definitely experiencing that more and more flying around. But to me, this is a little slice of heaven. What we can do is we can land at the Air Force Academy. Seeing the Air Force Academy is a big deal. I don't know that they have the chapel in, but they've got the football stadium in. They got it on the map. It'll probably pop up as we get closer. Careful. I'm starting to redline it a little bit. If I push her too hard, Captain, she can break apart. So I really had a desire to just drop the nose and give us some speed. But it definitely can be very dangerous. One of the nicest things about this plane is, again, it makes anybody feel like they can fly because it's so approachable and it feels like a car. But after a while, if you haven't gone through lots of training and watched lots of training videos, you become overconfident. It makes you feel way more confident than you should be. And there have been a number of people that have already died flying the Icon A5. And I'm not saying it's 100% the Icon's fault. I'm not saying it was 100% of the fault of the people who were flying them. Anything mechanical is prone to fail. So I don't know, and I don't want to speak ill of anybody who's died. But from my own experience in Microsoft Flight, spending lots and lots and lots of hours in another version of this Icon A5, you go crazy. You start trying all kinds of things. She's very nimble, and I haven't been doing a whole lot of sharp turns, but she actually can turn on a dime. You can fly this thing between out east. We have lots of those little wind towers. You can fly this around a wind farm like nobody's business. You can fly this thing over golf courses. Easy. I don't know what your horizons look like in your part of the world. That is, again, I keep saying that again. That is very much what the atmospherics look like here. Very white on the horizon. Sometimes everything in the horizon just kind of fades in. It becomes a haze and looks very ghost-like. They said the AI is trying to put every tree in the world. Not only is every house and every road, every tree. They said the earth is big and there's a lot of trees. Kind of blows my mind. But that goes back to me talking about Moore's Law and how now, at the rate that computer technology and graphics technology is even faster than Moore's Law. But here we are in 2020, and now those numbers mean something. Back in the 80s, when you're waiting for a number to roll over and double, and then double again, and double again, and double again, and double again, it's a long wait. But after a while, big numbers start doubling, and that's where we're finally at today. Like I said, we're at the point where Moore's Law means something. Because now when a number doubles after 18 months, or however long it is, 12 to 18 months, it's a huge leap forward. It's not just a little tiny baby step, it's a humongous leap forward. And then the next leap is a humongous leap forward, and each one after that is a humongous leap forward. And that is what we're getting with this. There are so many different data sources driving this experience. The power. We have the power. And I still don't, like I said, I still don't have the power when it comes to the best computer. Maybe in this next year, I too will be able to have power and Uber graphics and all that. But it's running, and it's been running well this entire time, trying to do this recording. It hasn't been, uber, but it works, right? And the point is, it's fun sightseeing, but ultimately the goal is to learn how to fly, and, it's to have fun. I guess that there's no ultimate goal. But for me, it's to keep learning to fly. So, I don't spend as much time as I used to just flying around, enjoying myself, sightseeing. I spend a lot more time now. Pardon me, I'm so sorry. I probably, like many of you, or at least you will be, if you get this, it's a long, did I say long? Long download. And you can say, well, I've got 200 meg line. It doesn't matter, man. And or madam. You are going to have a long wait. And that's what happened last night. Start downloading it, and it's like, oh my. So you sit around, well, maybe this will speed up. No, and after a while, you're like, maybe I should go to sleep. Do I pull an all-nighter, or do I go to sleep? What do I do? And then it's indecision, and it's been a long day. So it took all night to pretty much download. And then it took half the day to try to configure things right. The Germans, the company that put this together, Asobo, primarily responsible for all this. They're Germans. The Germans. And the control setup and some of these things that I've run into trying to set this up are very German, I suppose. That's one way to put it. They're not what I'm used to. The setup procedures may throw you for the first time. If you're German, probably not. You're like, this is the way it should be done. Well, for me, I've never done the German way. So I find things a little bit odd. I don't understand why things work the way that they work. And normally when you're setting up a controller, it's like, well, press the button on your controller to set the input. It's currently not working. When you press buttons on your controller, it doesn't actually set it. It gives you a little list of options to where you select the button or the hat or whatever. And that's frustrating. Then the little picture in the corner which shows you what the buttons are numbered. It's awfully small, and with my poor eyes after all these years, I find it really hard to read. And then the Germans default map the keys to sometimes 2 or 3 inputs. So when you change it, it doesn't remove the other bindings. So then you have to spend time, and I've flown over the airport and all that stuff that I was looking for. You have to spend all this time trying to find those other bindings, and then you've got to clear them and then save it. And that was a royal pain in the butt to figure out. They obviously have their favorite mappings, but that's not the way I like to set my joystick up. But again, it was very frustrating to have to search out all the other mappings and clear them. It won't just when you set it, it doesn't just blow out the other ones, and it should. It should definitely just work by clicking a button on your controller. And you go, oh, okay, you want that button. And then it should say, hey, should we blow out all the other bindings for you? Spare you the frustration of trying to figure all this out? Yes, you should. I get so far off course because I'm yakking away, not paying attention. This whole area right here, though, is Air Force Academy territory. So I don't get over here too much because this is all controlled by them. But you are allowed to go to all the wonderful football games that they have. And they have Falcon Stadium over here, and you can even read the print on the field and on the seats. And I just don't know how we end up missing it. How do you miss a whole football stadium? Okay, there's the road, one of the roads coming in. We are getting closer. So I'm sure you're going to love this. If this little tiny part of the world is this perfect, chances are wherever you want to fly, it's going to be as good, if not way more perfect. And you are going to love it. And they said they have over 700 third-party partners right now working on other stuff. 700. So whatever it is that you're unhappy with, somebody has to be working on something that you like. I've heard people say, well, this airport isn't the way it looks. Well, somebody's probably recreating it for you right now, and it will be available in the marketplace. I can't wait to see what else they're going to come up with. Is this the complex over here, the Air Academy complex in the chapel? The chapel was in it, but that looks like it. Well, I sure extended this out a little bit, didn't I? I was hoping we'd be on the ground already. This should give you, if this is the stadium ahead, should give you a real good example of how well some stuff is going to be mapped. Yeah, that's the chapel. It's really uniquely shaped. Get my hand on the Air Force Academy Chapel. I've been missing that the entire time I've been putzing around. Yeah, when you get in close, I mean, anything's going to start... The illusion's going to start falling apart. But holy moly. Alright, let's find that stadium. Get down to the ground. Let's get down. It's just got to be right over here. Okay, so this is the... Look at all those... Look at all those tennis courts. You know those Air Force Academy people take their athletics seriously. Look at all those courts. What a bunch of spoiled brats. They have a bunch of... Looks like they got a bunch of solar panels on all the roofs now. No, up, please. Look at that. There's a jet on the field. I wonder if they do paratrooper landings over here. Okay, where's the stadium? The hell is the stadium? And then you're thinking, why are you asking me? You're the one who lives there. You should know, bro. Well, it's not every day you fly over the thing. But you're right. I should know, bro. Normally, from the ground, we take Academy Boulevard straight out, and it's usually like a straight shot. There's the airfield, so yeah, it's got to be right over here. Bruh. That's going to be annoying. I keep pressing D and setting the right headings. I've never been back up in there. I don't even know what's back up in there. It's probably some fleet admiral's house. I think this is the high school for all the Air Academy kids. Okay. No, we're too far up. That can't be it over there. That's not. Oh well. We'll fly back around, and if we pass it, we pass it. If not, we'll call it a night. I'll try to. They don't give us any. There's no way for me to like put a pin on the map, on my own map. Is this just it? I thought so. There's Academy Boulevard. I was gonna say it's a straight shot, so when you come out this way, snakes around, and that might be it. Yep. We have found it. So what I wanted you to see was the printing on the field. Is there see Falcons? On one side it says Air Force, on the other side it says Falcons. Now look at the seats. To the right side, Falcons. On the left side, Air Force. And all the little logos on the field. It's lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Let's get back to cockpit view and we'll land at the Air Force Academy. I don't think they'll mind tonight. Let's get our landing gear down and our flaps down. Landing gear. Let's slow down, raise the nose, kill a little speed. And now we'll lower our flaps, and it's just easy. That's it. That's our flaps. What made this wonderful and helped me break my fear of landing is that it feels just like a car. You know, when you're driving or flying other type of planes, the nose is so big and it's hard to see over the front of the nose, and it's hard to, you get scared because you can't really see the runway. It's kind of uncomfortable in a lot of ways. You have to really get used to it. But with this, it's just like, well, I'm just driving my little Honda. Driving my little Honda down to the road, and all you gotta do is just keep your nose up as you come in for a landing and lose speed. And that's comfortable. That made it so wonderful for me to break my fear of landing. And this is the plane that did it for me and got me to want to continue. I don't think I have the brake set right. And we have successfully landed at the United States Air Force Academy landing field. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Kinneas Noob Flights doing Colorado Springs.